This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 18th of March, 2019, and I am 2J.
I am Tuel.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines. Pain and shame of starvation in middle of plenty. Uhuru Ruto proxy wars intensify. And the star inside the Ruto and Raila war of words. I think let's start with the Standard and the Star.
Together, yeah.
The stories are similar.
Because
Proxy wars.
Yeah.
War of words.
I will shoot straight. Three things
Go for it.
come to mind when I see these headlines. First is impeachment. Second is treason. Third is restarting of ICC cases.
Okay, let's go back to impeachment. Whose impeachment?
Deputy President William Ruto.
I think before we go there, we need to take it a step back. Because the first statement that was made was by DP Ruto and his allies that the treason proceedings can still be brought back. And that was met by another statement saying that also DP's impeachment is a possibility. And I think the idea of revisiting ICC is maybe something that we are discussing amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, it's a possible third.
It's a possible. That's very true.
And I'll start with the treason. There was okay. I did not say it. Let me start there. AG Githuigai made a statement, and it was televised, in which he said if anyone is wishing or attempts to swear themselves in, that act of swearing yourself in is null and void and illegal ab initio from its in its essence.
Yes.
And
yes.
the swearing in was carried out, and he said that if anyone does that, then they are guilty of high treason.
Yes.
Now,
Even though the handshake has happened, a treasonous act has no deadline. It has no finish line.
that means that even 20 years from now, I can
Yes.
still take you to court and
Exactly.
sue you for it. And I agree, it comes from a principle in English law that the king's any cause of the king knows no time, so he can come and sue you for it. But I'd like to add a caveat, a clause, an exception to that rule.
Yeah.
Our act calls for something they call concealment of treason, a treasonous act. So anyone else who knew about it, leave us the
An
general
accessory.
public.
Yes.
So any accessory to that treason,
An
so the person
accomplice.
who
Yeah.
swears you in,
Yes.
the people who take you there, the ones who are present at that swearing in,
Yes.
have to be sued within 2 years.
They call it misprision of treason or concealment of treason.
Well, misprision of treason in our jurisdiction, but concealment of treason in
In the
our
penal code.
Yeah.
penal code.
Yeah.
And 1 year has passed, so all things going well and handshake continuing.
Yeah.
1 more year passes,
Yeah.
and the
Those
only
accessories.
person
Yes.
who is still liable
Yes.
is Raila. And I'm sorry, I feel like this is a really crazy strategy to isolate him, but if it were true, then he remains the only person who's criminally liable for high treason, punishable by
So that
death.
was point number 1.
Yes.
Point number 2.
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Yes.
Impeachment. 2M.
Impeachment. You see, there is motive being built on the DP to get impeached. First is corruption scandals, right? That he is probably unfit for office.
Okay.
But second, him going against the DCI things and all these
The damn
And
story.
giving
and
statements.
damn stories, and he is being seen to be contradictory of his boss. Not that there is actual evidence that he is, but they're building a certain motive.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: should impeachment happen and then it backfires, right? Who will have egg on face?
Ooh.
Tell me.
Well, the person who initiates those impeachment proceedings, name withheld, but yeah.
But the winner in all this is Raila. And I keep repeating it. 365 days, handshake.
I don't know.
You have managed to do this to the ruling party.
Tujay was saying that
Bravo.
perhaps that ambiguity that we have, you never know, maybe he negotiated a pardon.
And that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that vagueness around the handshake, that's what it was.
Yeah, but what was given to him in return if he was given a pardon?
But also, I don't think he can be given a pardon in private. We'd have to know about it.
That's very true as well, yeah.
Okay.
All right, and then
Story
finally,
three, ICC. Can ICC come back? Will ICC come back? I feel touching ICC.
Yeah, but I think if we look at the wording that was made in the judgments, when the cases were vacated and what was the other one?
Withdrawn.
And withdrawn.
Withdrawn, yeah.
There's a possibility that those cases can be reopened.
Okay, it's true. We have to make a statement
it's
here.
It's not our opinion that it should happen, but by
it
law
was
that is
stated.
what was stated.
No, even in law, unless you're acquitted of a crime or you're convicted and then subsequently found to have been innocent, that case can come back with the same set of facts or with new evidence. And the prosecutor in a press statement I'm sorry to say this again, I don't even know if we're opening a Pandora's box here, on both cases, said that the cases can be brought back with the same set of facts because they were withdrawn, there were no acquittals that were made, or with new evidence. And so that, I feel, is a cloud hanging over all three
men. At this point, who's playing? Who's going down?
Well, I have to say this, and we borrow this from nested game theory. If you're engaged in suboptimal behavior, and what I call suboptimal behavior is if you're doing things that are not in your best interest, then I have to say that you're in a nested game.
You're nested in more than one game.
You're nested in more than one game, you're engaged in more than one game. The thing is, I don't know who has the master game and who's playing the game best, but we can say nested games.
Nested games over.
So what do we think about these two headlines?
I say toss them.
I would agree. Yeah,
After you guys had such good points and then you want to toss them.
No, the points are not related to the headline.
These headlines are boring. Yeah, they're repetitive.
Also, if they gave me my story back, maybe
however, have we discussed our criteria?
Oh yes. Before we toss them, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you in retrospect. We ask ourselves 3 questions: is the headline topical or is it speculative? I don't know. Speculative.
A little bit of both, yeah.
And is the headline repetitive or is it groundbreaking?
Not groundbreaking.
Not groundbreaking.
Yes. And finally, is the headline thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Lazy.
Tossed.
Yeah.
Finally, Daily Nation, pain and shame of starvation in the middle of plenty. I feel like it's missing a word.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to read. So we had said this earlier. I have some issues with this story. So we cannot deny that there are people who are dying in North Kenya.
Okay, sure.
And we also cannot deny that these areas have cyclical trends of drought.
Yes.
However, I am of the belief that this story is being politicized by some person for their own gain.
I agree. And I will have our team highlight here what went wrong. Galana, touted as a model for sustainable agriculture, the Galana Kulalu project has collapsed. Starvation amidst plenty, they say that there's food in the counties surrounding the counties of people who are dying of starvation. Then dams, our story for the past 2 weeks. An ambitious project for dams for irrigation has turned into a national corruption scandal. And finally, disaster response. Despite early warnings, response mechanisms and coping strategies remain miserably wanting. I feel like we're clutching at straws.
But my problem with them using the dam story here, it is not even related to the drought and the death of these people in Turkana.
True.
Tracy, the dams were not set to be ready until 2021, 2022.
That is the point, guys. They are building on a narrative that will build over and over again, and the end game is to have a collapse of government.
Please tell me how this happens.
This is how it happens.
Like you're really stretching
this is how it happens.
Truth.
You have corruption story that has angered the public.
Okay.
Right? For months on end. For today is a dam. Tomorrow it will be something else.
Corruption in general. Yeah.
Then you bring hunger. The next thing you know is a media campaign by even the biggies, who knows, CNNs and everybody, showing people dying and people drinking dirty water. The next thing you know, you have food riots.
So what you're trying to tell me is that the media is being used to create a sort of background of acceptance.
Yes, but there is an end game to this. And if the state does not watch out and own the narrative, people will land on the streets to protest against the state.
And it's interesting you say that, because I believe there's a cartoon that is going to speak to that narrative, right?
I am telling you, we are going there. Should anything happen, even...
are we going to sit still as Kenyans and just quietly wait for this to happen? For us to be herded like thoughtless sheep into some sort of crisis?
It's a cumulative effect. Things add up, slowly by slowly. By the time you realize, right? you'll have activists controlling this nation, the activists and the media.
So it's for who to do what? For the government to control the narrative, or for the people to go out into the streets?
Too late. Do you remember a cartoon a couple of weeks ago that had us cooking politics in front of our eyes on the TV screen?
Yeah.
So please tell me what we're going to do, or we leave high speculation.
Guys, that's not the question. The question is, cui bono? Who benefits from a collapse of government right now? Who will force their hand? There's a difference. And
let's avoid the speculation at the moment, because I want to ground us in the headline.
Okay, no, I hear you. I just want to give a clue. There's a difference, guys, between the government of national unity and a coalition government. You create a coalition government when you create a crisis.
What does that have to do with the headline?
Government of national unity, because I'm telling you, there is a father for this.
And very well, we're buying into your story, but I think
get me to the end conclusion. Get me to where I need to go.
That's why I said it's a clue.
All right. So what do we think about this headline? I don't think we have a winning headline today.
I don't think we have a winning headline either. And I say we toss it.
Very well. Okay.
On to our next segment, the political opinions that we call cartoons in this country. And just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is it humorous, or is it dry? Is it satirical, or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy? Let me bring back our papers.
I think if we start with the standard, we can allow 2M to finish his monologue.
Okay, let's see if we get somewhere, because I think that Gado and you are today on the same page. And you're headed somewhere. Just get us there. Let me understand how we leap from people dying of starvation.
Part 2 of 2.
No.
Tell us.
Yes.
Great minds
Kenya is ready for Tunisia-Egypt revolution. Please show me how we leap to the Arab Spring.
And it is quite a leap he's making today, really.
No, great minds think alike.
Please take us through your leap.
Ignore my counterparts.
We are asking for guidance. Oh, great and mighty one. Please.
Let me repeat. All right? There is a cumulative effect to a collapse of a state. It just does not happen just like that. You create such negative perception of the state that to a point the masses will drop on the streets and they'll demand for the resignation of the president.
Okay, do you know why I feel that you're stretching and you're taking us somewhere where I'm not convinced of? And it's a touchy point, but I think it's one that we need to address as Kenyans. We have become so desensitized to stories of death if it's not in spaces that we cannot reach and understand. So as sad as this Turkana story is, I don't think the average Kenyan is angry enough to take that and go to the streets and say, let's have a revolution.
Unless you tell me that because the government has been doing so miserably, trying to respond to it, that the next scandal... The next scandal, 3 months from now, will be in these special programs because of their response to this. Then that's how they'll be able to connect it. I'm not seeing how we just jump there.
If I was Uhuru Kenyatta, crazy idea. Because it's bad for us to just criticize. We run a think tank here, so we give people solutions, all right? Uhuru Kenyatta should move the ministry, the special programs departments from the Ministry of Devolution to the Ministry of Defense, all right? That way he insulates himself from any scandal.
Okay.
But should this starvation thing be real, right?
And it is real.
You will have better response to starvation than anybody else. We have military, we have KDF bases all over this country. You have NOS with over 1,000 pieces of equipment and can mobilize in a matter of days.
Here's what
Give this to the military, you sort out this starvation thing, at least in the short term.
Here's what I'm hearing. What you're saying is not that starvation is a problem, but that it will become a matter of national security.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
But what can I say that at this point, sitting here today, on the 18th of March, that is a stretch.
It's a stretch, yeah. It's not to say that you don't have a good idea. It's
or a good point, or a valid point.
Well,
but I feel like there's certain points in the evolution of a revolution. Yeah. I think there's certain points we're missing before we get there. And
so
that
what do
there
we think
is
about
time.
this cartoon?
So what, I don't know.
I think it's fantastic. Because my colleagues don't agree, and I read your mind, great minds think alike.
We're not going to toss it.
We're not tossing it. We're putting it on the parking bay. We've not looked at what else is against it.
To be fair.
So we're putting it in the parking bay.
We don't want to dim your light.
No, you cannot dim my light.
Self-trust and belief. Okay, this one, can we trust immediately?
This one, so lazy.
No.
Immediately.
Guys,
So lazy.
it is the same thing.
It is the same thing.
The Kenyan here is not dying of starvation.
You-
The
My,
Kenyan
my,
is
di- my
dead.
difference. The difference is
It's highly pessimistic.
Gado is giving us a narrative. He's giving us a story. He's telling
he's-
us where
he's
we're
gi- he's-
going.
He's
Have you-
predicting the
have-
future.
Exactly. This is not a prediction. This is just a flat out description.
Well, for some minds, yes, but that's a very simple way of saying things. Let me tell you, if you combine the corruption narrative and with this hunger thing, you will have such a boomerang effect on the state.
That is fine, and that Gado's cartoon is more superior. It shows you that effect
Are we
on the state.
not defending him?
And you see, that is the opinion that
We're
we
defending
have. My goodness, toss it, please,
To
to Jay.
Jay.
Finally.
So everyone is saying the same thing.
So what do we have today from
exasperated.
We have some six
choppers.
And they're all flying in opposite directions. They seem to
I
be
know
very
there's no
confused.
coordination here.
No,
And there is a young child face down on the ground who is saying more.
The context of this, let me explain.
Can I finish reading and then you? Okay.
Explain the
The
context. I don't know.
context of
Today, what's
this-
going on? Give Tuji a moment.
Can I say it?
Give Tuji a moment to explain what the cartoon is.
The
then
context
you can
of-
give your context.
The context of this
Why
is
are you
Rift
acting
Valley
this way?
politicians were
Don't
somewhat-
forget who the host is, huh?
and,
I know.
And they had choppers, and they went to, I think, Baringo. And the context of this is, how can you be flying choppers and yet people are dying of
You're
hunger?
giving context before we've even read the cartoon.
Okay, now you can say it.
All right, yes, the cartoon, it says, more choppers to funerals and harambes for 2022 succession than for drought victims of Turkana.
And yes, that is the context.
And that is the context,
And
yes.
yes, money has been spent on these. They're paid for by the hour if you do not own a chopper.
Yes.
And yes, there are people who are dying on parched earth. But I don't like it. I feel like it's very pessimistic. It goes with the nation.
But is this a kind of wake-up call that we need as Kenyans?
I don't think you'll get politicians to stop being
To go on the
self-loving.
streets.
No, not to go on the streets necessarily, but to have
Today,
compassion
all
and take
roads don't lead to the streets.
to the Arab Spring. But
No.
I think it's important that sometimes we need to be hit with these hard truths. And that's a desensitization of these issues that I was talking about. But I don't know, that's my opinion.
Okay.
This story is sad, but what Trump did last week, no relation. He owned up to brand America. He owned up to brand America and he grounded
Oh my
planes.
goodness.
Uhuru should own up to this.
And do what? Ground his CSS
No,
and
let the military move and sort out this issue. This is a bad look for brand
making
Kenya.
irrational
To
conclusions.
you, to you. This is a blot on brand Kenya. Do not allow it to go any further. All right?
Okay.
Give this to the military. Let them sort this out.
personal opinions aside, what do we say about the cartoon?
It's really
I
nothing to
like
like.
it.
It's nothing to like. It's nothing to. It's poor dying, man.
So what we're saying is that it's pessimistic, but it's effective.
Cannot say it's pessimistic. If it's real, it's real.
That doesn't still mean that it's not
A
a pessimistic
pessimistic thing can be real.
a pessimistic view of what we're going through. In the same way, you
I
can
don't
have
know.
something that is true and satirical. See a bit of humor in
2M
it.
has entered a real cognitive tunnel and we can't reach him, so it's fine, just leave it.
So what do we say about this cartoon?
I'm
trying
like
to
it.
read you.
Yeah, I
It
think
is effective.
It is effective. Unfortunately, because we have the criteria of is it humorous or dry, I'm
It is
feeling
dry.
a little bit of a.
It is dry
Yeah.
for me, and it is pessimistic. So that outweighs its effectiveness, unfortunately.
I think it's very effective. You want to throw it to
The
one.
effectiveness, we have agreed it's effective, but however, the pessimism and the dryness cannot be overlooked.
All right. So do we have a winning cartoon today?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I
But we'd
would
already tossed.
agree.
We'd already tossed.
All right. So we'll
We
toss
can't.
the.
Let's not have, when people are dying, guys, you cannot have winning cartoons. What are you telling people?
This is winning headlines on a day in which we have argued, fought, and tunneled. See you tomorrow.